I'm good.
You're all good?
Yeah,
Cool.
I think I'm good.
Okay, so today we have Nathan Kelly, the fastest ever trainer at Fitness Playground.
At Fitness Playground, yes.
You would be the fastest in history at Fitness Playground.
I don't know. Trying to think who else.
No one has run at the level that you have.
Are you
or
sure?
had. I don't think so.
Yeah. Let's just say that.
There's one guy there. He's a Welsh lad. He's pretty fast. Ray Bishop. Do you know him?
No, but it sounds very famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had him on the podcast, so he is very famous. Only famous people come on here, mate.
Of course.
So,
I feel privileged.
yeah.
Thanks for having me.
And I usually say that if you've already done a podcast before, if someone hasn't done a podcast, and this is the first one, they're starting at the top. But we know that you started even higher at the top with Robbie. So
I thought you meant with athletics.
athletics. Well, no, podcasting.
Yeah.
And so this is very much second to Robbie's podcast, but that's a good position to be.
He didn't have a Canva.
He didn't have Canva. No.
Oh.
How did you do it with him?
Just did it in the gym.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I planned.
Nice and raw.
Yeah, that's how I planned this to be. I just wanted to do it on my. The start of it was I just wanted to start doing more content, and I wanted to do a little bit more longer form content because I was having trouble just a block with doing the short form content because it's frustrating as all hell. And so I was like, I can talk about stuff for a long period of time, so why don't we video it and create some content out of it? And so my goal was to just do it on my balcony, just get the boys around in front of the squat rack. I think it's kind of...
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we may transition back to that at a certain point. But yeah, now we got this cool studio.
Awesome. Love it.
The full experience.
Nice.
So fastest man, Fitness Playground history. And tell us who you are and what do you do, mate?
Yep. Well, my name's Nathan. Some people call me Nate. So I've been training or coaching for, let's have a look. Mate, it's been 20 years, hey.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, 20 years. So I left school and then joined the Navy, trained to be a diver, tried to follow my dad's footsteps. He was in the Navy for 20 odd years. He died when I was a young boy. So I thought, well, that would be cool to follow his footsteps in doing that. Yeah. Gave that a crack. That was intense.
Yeah.
That was
because
really intense.
It's essentially like what people know as a Navy SEAL, but the Australian version, yeah?
Yeah. It's very, very similar. So it's obviously the special forces of the Navy. There's only like 3 ranks. It goes like divers and then moves up to like TAG and then goes into SAS. So that was pretty rigorous, but I ended up injuring myself on the first Hell Week. So I had to do it again, which was cool. But it was good to do it the second time, knowing that what I was doing for 7 days, I knew what was coming up and had all the boys like, what's tomorrow? What are we doing tomorrow?
Well, actually, just talking to Ray before, he was in the military in the British Army, and he said the same sort of thing. Like he served in Afghanistan for a long time.
Yep.
I think he did 3 or 4 tours or something. And I asked him, the same sort of thing. He's like, when you're going back after the second time, third time, it's like you just kind of know what's coming. Shit, but at least you're assured of what that's going to happen.
Sometimes I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Yeah.
Like kind of knowing what's the pain you're going to go through rather than not knowing. I think sometimes it's good not to know.
Yeah. So what give us a little rundown of what the Hell Week looks like.
Yeah. So Hell Week used to go for, I'm pretty sure it was nearly 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That was the Hell Week. Doesn't make sense.
That's a mind.
But that's a hell week, right? It's
Yeah.
a hell of a week.
Yeah.
And then so now it's dumbed down, I think, to might be 10 days now.
Yeah. Pussies.
Yeah, the fuck they just don't, what do you call it? Breathe them like they used to, do they?
So they've even brought the level down of that. Is that because people couldn't get through, or?
Yeah, so I think in ours we had like 40 people at the start, and so you wear this vest. You're not a name, you're a number, and then as people then get taken off the course through injury, or if they pull out, which is the most common contraceptive, or no, you know what I mean? Like it's the common kind of thing that for you to fail. Then they put your singlets up on like a little clothesline, right? So when you go to, it's the annex, right? So when you then go to sleep, just before you go to sleep, you've got to pump out a whole heap of push-ups and chin-ups and all that. You just look on the wall or up on the clothesline. There's all the numbers of people that have pulled out of the course. So we started with like, let's say 40.
So when you got injured, did yours go up there, or?
Yeah, mine would have gone up there. So you take off your vest.
Yeah.
And that was a voluntary.
Yeah.
Because withdrawal for me.
They have to. They want to see whether you'll quit at that point. Yeah, if you're injured or.
Yeah, or if you're going to pull through. But they would rather you not continue. if you're injured,
Yeah.
because you obviously don't want to do more damage to yourself. But that's more about being mentally strong.
Yeah.
So do you have the mental ability to become a Navy diver or whatnot? So so I injured myself. So I ended up getting I ended up hurting my rotator cuff. So we do a thing called run jumps where you're in your, I think we're in a wetsuit. We have your dive knife on your leg. You've got your fins on, and then you're jumping in the water, and you literally go over one Zodiac, which is like a rubber boat, and then under the next Zodiac. You run onto the wharf. You run up the stairs. You run along the wharf. You jump off. You go over the Zodiac, under the Zodiac, and you don't know how many times you're doing it. You just keep doing it until they tell you to stop. And so I went up on one Zodiac, and I ended up I just felt my shoulder go as I went over the Zodiac, and I was like, oh, that doesn't feel very good. But then when I jumped off the wharf, I kept going. So I ended up finishing the run jump, they're called. And I remember when we finished, we were all kind of lined up along the line across the wharf, and I remember just looking down, and I'd cut my hand on my knife as I've jumped over the Zodiac. So I had blood pissing out of my hand as well. And that night I just didn't sleep. So I was like, I can't do this. So we did a 5-hour PT session on the beach down at Cornell. Was it Cornell? Out there somewhere. And that's when I just collapsed in a push-up, and that was it.
Fuck.
Yeah, I was literally 3/4 of the way through. So it's sleep deprivation, it's mind games, it's heavy lifting, it's teamwork, it's everything that you probably need, when you go out there on mission. So
Well, it makes sense. You've got to be pretty fucking tough to do what they do.
yeah,
You'd be pretty resilient.
resilience is probably the best word.
Yeah.
I reckon. Yeah.
That's wild. And so you did it again.
Did it again.
How was the second time?
Well, because I knew it was coming up right for the first 8 days, 7 or 8 days. So that was good. But then after that, it was like, you just don't really know what's coming up. But that was still, I felt that the last part of the course was a little bit easier than the first part. Mm-hmm. You just don't get, I think there was like 8 of us left, and you're just not getting belted as much. And they just kind of want to see how you work as a team. So that was probably the more enjoyable bit.
Because they know you're not going to quit at that point. The ones that are going to quit have quit.
They've gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then there was just that core group. How well do we work together as a team?
Yeah, that's wild. And then so what happened from there? You didn't go through and do that, or you did surf for a bit?
Yeah, no. So I went in there and I literally just did the course and then got through to the end, and then just gathered my thoughts and just thought to myself, man, is this what I want to do?
Yeah.
And seems to be a bit of a pattern for me, but I just was underwater. It was down at Balmoral, and it was just murky as, and it's called compass swim. So you've got this compass, and you've got to go from point A to point B, and then you can actually draw your coordinates under the water as well with your pencil and your compass thing. And every time I got up to the surface, I was like, fuck, I'm not where I'm meant to be. Damn it. So then I'd go back under, and I'm just sitting underwater going, man, I don't want to do this. And then I just literally just purged. So you're in this breathing apparatus where it rebreathes. So you've got this little oxygen cylinder, this CO2 scrub, which then recycles your air as you cycle through, in this little bladder, like a balloon. And so when you breathe out, it goes through one valve shuts, and it goes through the little bladder, and it recycles the air, and then you breathe it in, one valve opens, one valve shuts.
Yeah.
You're meant to be underwater for up to 6 to 8 hours at a time, not surfacing the water at all, sitting no more than 8 meters underwater. It's so for when you do the special ops. And I reckon I was underwater for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I don't want this. So I just purged all the air out of my cylinder, and I probably should have transitioned to the army.
Yeah.
I'm more of a land. Is an Aquarius a land baby? I don't know.
Oh,
it doesn't sound like it, but
Yeah.
whatever it is. So I should have
It sounds more Aquarius.
right. It sounds more water.
Sounds perfect for you, mate.
Yeah, I think it's like land, or air or something. So I should have joined the army and then gone into the special forces in some form there, but it is what it is. Then I got out and then did PT.
Yeah, fair. That just gives me so much anxiety, which is something we'll get onto as we go. But I nearly drowned when I was 5, I think. And it just, being underwater like that just makes, and I don't know how someone could be under. Obviously, you've got a breathing apparatus, but just that makes me feel claustrophobic just thinking about it.
It was so when we trained, you do all that kind of stuff. So you do buddy breathing.
Yeah.
That's at the first time quite daunting. We do it in the swimming pool down at the base, and then you go out into the ocean water and do it in the ocean water. So you have an instructor there, and then they you've got your mask on, because we've got to call, goggles, what most people would mask, tank cylinder, flippers, fins.
Yeah.
And so they take your mask off just without you knowing. This is when you're in the open water. So you practice it in the pool too, which you'd probably freak out with.
Yeah.
And then when you're in the ocean water, you don't know. So you're with your instructor because they're marking you down. And then all of a sudden they just take your mask off and you're just there going, fuck, and you can't see anything. And then they give it back to you. So just in your hand.
Yeah.
And you're there going, oh. And so then you have to then be calm, put your mask back on, and then you got to purge it.
Yeah.
So you got to blow it, the air in your nose or out your nose, blow the air out of your mask, and then you can see again.
Oh, fuck.
And then what they do is they tell you, they point at their reg and they go, okay, cool. So on the count of 3, I'm going to take your regulator out. You're then going to breathe through mine and all that. And you go, okay, cool. And they go, okay, ready, 3, 2, 1. And then they pull your reg out so you can't breathe and you're just sitting there underwater. You're just looking at him going, when you're ready. And then they give you their reg. You breathe their reg, and then they just pull it back out of your mouth again. So they want to see how you respond under pressure, right? Which is fine. But it's cool.
what you sign up for.
It's what you sign up for.
Yeah.
But it's a cool experience. Like the stuff that I learned about self-discipline.
I bet, mate.
Resilience.
Yeah.
And like seeing how they do things. Like there's, you can breathe, from the hoses from the water, surface supply breathing apparatus, which is cool. Going in with the LARs, I don't know what they have now, but the rebreathing apparatus, and then just going with your normal cylinders.
Yeah.
Knowing how to pull it apart, put it back together. It's pretty cool under there. And what's under the ocean, especially under Sydney, like we don't have anything really in our oceans, but how much shit's under there for starters. But then just seeing what else is out there in the oceans it's pretty phenomenal.
It is really, really cool, but just fuck that.
Scary. There was a dude I saw yesterday, the dude that broke the world record last year. I can't even think of his name now, for deep diving. Mate, he goes, dive with me on his Instagram things. So you go in there and you take your breath, right? I'm sitting there and go, yeah, okay, a couple of minutes maybe. I'm not moving, right? So I'm there going to take my breath. Next minute, 1 minute 30, 2 minutes, 2 minutes 30, 3 minutes. He held his breath. I think he went 176 meters. Oh, wow. And he goes, by the time you get to a certain point, he goes, it's just dark. You can't see anything. He's going down the shot rope, down to the bottom. I reckon it was about 5.5 minutes, I think he held his breath for. Underwater.
Does he know the sharks down there?
I don't know if they're that deep. He talks about buoyancy too. So when you get to a certain point going down, you're starting to travel faster as you go down, because your oxygen in your body becomes less. You become less buoyant. So at the start, you're more buoyant.
Yeah.
And then as the oxygen or the air in your body becomes less, because of the pressure, you're going down faster. But then when you come back up,
you've got to manage that as well too, because you can go too fast, can't you?
Well, you can, yeah. But he seemed to he was cruising up. Yeah, because then as that oxygen then expands, you don't want to get the bends or anything.
Yeah. No, I'd much rather stay on dry land.
Yeah.
Just normal flat ground is good for me.
Yeah, it's a different world out there.
I bet, mate. So you got out of the Navy, and then did you go straight into PT?
So I did my PT in the Navy.
Yeah.
My PT course. So I worked with the PTIs, which was cool.
Yeah.
And they're so old school. I reckon even now they're old school.
Yeah.
And I was quite fortunate that I worked down at the Navy Divers base. So the gym there was, it was like state of the art gym.
Yeah.
And they were building it then too. So, we got to watch it expand and get bigger, and then use like state of the art equipment, which was cool. So I did my course through them, and then started working down at Fitness First, which is kind of where we all start working, I think, back then. Doing my course then.
So that was 2004. 20 years ago.
Yeah, maybe.
You just started PT when I finished year 6.
Yeah. Could I be your uncle?
You could be. Nate. I honestly don't. I don't perceive you as that old. I think you're mid-30s. How old are you now?
Yeah, mid-30s. That's it.
Yeah. How old are you now?
41.
I don't think that. Every time I love talking to you, and I don't ever perceive you to be, there's people that I talk to and I'm like, oh, okay, you seem like you're 40s. Yeah. You don't seem like you're 40. Maybe it's the fitness industry, mate.
Peter Pan.
Yeah, that's it. That's
maybe.
it. Still pretty quick as well too.
Whoa. Mate, I'm doing high rocks. So I did a high rocks thing yesterday, and I was humbled in the run.
That's not speed though.
Nah, but we did 500 meter efforts, and the guy that I was training with, I kept with him for 3 laps, and then all of a sudden, I reckon he was nearly a whole lap ahead of me at the end.
Yeah, right.
He pumped me.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck. What happened to that? But that's not 400 meters, right?
True. You're just one set of 400. I reckon
Yeah, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, I reckon
Yeah.
you'd have it. So you did. When did the running start with the? Were you doing that while you were in the Navy, or did that come after?
So I was sprinting at school.
Yeah.
So I just started doing little A's. I started as a cross country runner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I excelled into that and went into state, and then ended up getting third at the state championships. That was at Eastern Creek, which was pretty cool. And then I just got into sprinting,
Yeah.
and I ended up winning the 100-meter race, which I'm not even a 100-meter runner, and then ended up winning like the 400, and I got quite good at 400 just by myself. And then I thought, fuck, maybe I need a coach.
Yeah.
So then the guy that was one of my biggest competitors. He was my biggest competition at school, Jace. He was getting coaching, big tall guy he was, or he still is. And I just said, oh, can I come train with you? And he goes, I'll ask my coach. And she said, if you beat Jason in the 100 meters, you can come and train with me. And I beat him. And so me back then as a kid, like I was young, fucking big white beady teeth, had heaps of hair, more hair than now, tanned. Yeah. And this cocky dude just went up to her and just said, I beat him. Yeah. When can I start?
You have every right to be cocky when you're that fast as well too, mate. Speed is king.
Speed is king. And then just went from there. So then I trained at school, did quite well. Then I had some time off from it. And then I was just training at Fitness First. And then, I don't know, my long-term coach just hit me up and said, he must have seen me run or something. And he goes, did you used to run? I said, yeah, I used to be a sprinter. And he goes, would you be keen on starting back up? Like, I need to train an athlete. Because he was doing the Charles Poliquin.
Ah, right.
Right. And so Charles Poliquin was, in order for you to become a Czech, or Charles Poliquin, sorry.
Level 3 or 4. Yeah.
You have to train an athlete to a medal.
Yeah.
So he saw me run. And that's how I got back into it. So he goes, I've seen you run. Like, I like your technique. I need to train an athlete.
Yeah.
Are you keen? And I was like, fuck, that'd be pretty cool.
Because then like level 4 is you had to get someone to like a world championship, and then level 5 was like a
Olympic medal or something. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I had a bit of a layoff from there. And then
and you still come back and you're that fast as well.
I came back, and our goal was to train for the Com Games.
Yeah. Because you weren't far off, were you?
No, I wasn't too far off. So when I was at school, I was in the state relay, and then I missed out one spot by a younger dude. He was younger than me, but his time was faster than mine.
Yeah, right.
So he went in and he was in the 4x4, and then I missed out. I was like a backup runner, but never got selected because he was obviously didn't injure himself, so he ended up getting through. But with Dan, he was an awesome coach. He still trains now. He trains with Tony Bataji.
Yep. Elite something in
Chatswood or something?
Chatswood, yeah.
St. Leonard's or something? Yeah. So I was quite fortunate to train with him, and that's where I learned a lot of my, the way that I move. Obviously with my deads, so with my deadlifts now today, I still cue the way that you taught me how to cue. And no one else cues that, because they always look at people like Sebastian and they use his cues.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no. I'm using Matt Walsh's cues. I still use it.
Good to know. That's good to know, mate. That's also a big compliment, because I know you've worked with some good coaches as well too before. So did you work with James Garland for a bit?
Yeah. So James Garland, so the reason why I stopped running was because of an accident that I did in the gym, showing up in front of the boys on the Swiss ball. Yeah. So I said to the boys after a workout, it's out at Penrith actually, my mates had it there, and I was like, oh yeah, I used to be able to jump from the floor and then jump onto a Swiss ball and squat on the Swiss ball. And, me being young again, cocky, ego, I said, hey boys, look what I can do. And then I literally jumped up, and when I've jumped up, I must have like jumped and maybe tilted my body to the left or something. And when I jumped on that Swiss ball, man, I slipped straight off it, straight onto my hip, and got a labral tear in my hip. And I couldn't walk properly for months. Hey,
bad.
And it wasn't only for about 12 months where I was able to slightly jog again.
Yeah. And
I went and saw 2 surgeons, and they were like, oh, what level of athlete are you? And I was like, I'm not quite there. Like, if I was to get an operation, I'm probably still a few years out. And I was kind of getting on then as a runner. In saying that, I think, what's his name? Some of the sprinters don't reach their peak until they're in their 30s, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Steroids are an amazing thing, aren't they?
Aren't they?
No, I'm joking.
I have a story, but I still question
Yeah.
All athletes.
There's a guy called Broderick Chavez. Have you heard of him before?
No.
He is called the Evil Genius. That's his business.
Yeah.
And he has done he's a steroid guy. He's like, I don't work with people unless they're doing steroids because you just don't want the thing enough. Like if you want to be the best bodybuilder, if you want to be the best powerlifter, you want to be the best athlete, you'll take steroids because that's what it takes. And he doesn't disclose who he works with, but he says that he works with some pretty high level athletes, and he talks relatively open about how they get around things. And
I was in a part of a athletic crew down near Chatswood. That's where a lot of the old runners like Pat Dwyer and all that used to train down there on the grass track. Better for your joints. Sometimes getting off the tartan track is good for you. And so I went down there, and one of the athletes that used to train in this crew who I'd never met, he was visiting from the USA, and he sat down and spoke to us, and he was running some pretty quick times. He's Aussie, and he said that they brought him into the office and said, these are your times now. When you started, these were your times. There's some slight improvement, but between this month and this month, there's been no improvement with your times. So you have a couple of options. One option is you sign this document and blah, 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 or you improve or you leave the camp. And he opted to leave.
Fair.
And I just remember looking at him just going, fuck, like that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, he said he had to sign a document saying that they knew nothing about what he was taking.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like people just want to believe the story that you can perform at that level. That we asked superhuman performances from these athletes, and if we see anything less, it's not impressive. Even like having someone run as fast as you do, like the elite of the elite, they run faster.
Yeah.
Which, like, that's fair. But, if you're at because what was your best 400 time? It was close to
48.
48.
So 47, 48.
Yeah. And what do the elite guys run?
42. Or 40, is it like 43? It's something ridiculous.
Yeah, how do you make up 5 seconds when you're running as fast as you possibly can? Like, that's not slow.
No.
And
they've finished the race, and I'm like halfway down my 100 meters, last 50 meters to go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, about that.
And that's the thing, like they have these people that are running ridiculous times and like, we want you to be 5 seconds faster.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? Just by will?
Yeah. How do you eventually, even when I was training with Dan, like my times were slowly getting better and better and better. But mate, like I was, especially in Australia, it's so hard, right? Because without sponsors and all that as well. So I'd go to work in the morning, and then I'd go and train with Dan, mid-morning when most coaches have their time off for PTs. And then I'd maybe go back to work at lunchtime. But sometimes we would hop in the car because he would start training with me. He was like watching the white Michael Johnson run.
Yeah.
He was amazing. He had these big, massive piston legs, and his arms he had this kind of like smaller kind of arm stroke when he'd run. But so then we'd go and train. He'd then drive me to North Sydney. We would then eat, chill, both go and coach. Oh no, so he was at Bataji. So he'd drop me off, he'd go and coach, and then I'd meet him back at the gym for strength training in the afternoon, and then go back to the gym at night.
Yeah.
Just so I can earn some coin.
Well, that's the thing.
So hard.
And if you've got sponsors and you're like, cool, just sit on your ass.
Yeah.
Go train. Go sit down.
And that's when you get that opportunity to take this, take that. It's a small minority, right?
Yeah. I don't think it takes anything away from it as well, because I think people just have that perception that these professional athletes that we want to see perform at these superhuman levels, they should be natural, but you just can't. It's weightlifting. If with like the snatch and the clean and jerk, I think it's cool at pretty much any level, but it's very impressive when someone cleans 250 kilos.
Absolutely.
He can only clean 250 kilos because he's on a boatload of steroids. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if he did, and that's like the super, super heavyweight, if he did 180 or 190, still impressive. No one wants to watch it on TV.
Yeah, that's true. There'd be more money going towards watching him. Yeah, it's so crazy, isn't it?
No one wants to watch it on TV. Why do people watch the WWE? Because they're all just normal sized people? No. Because they're on boatloads of steroids.
Yeah, they're jacked.
And it's the same thing with like bodybuilding. People want to see the freak show, but they just don't want to believe that you have to do something bad to get, it's an interesting one.
Yeah. I've been tempted. I was tempted once to do it. Had a really bad case of plantar fasciitis, which led to shin splints.
Yeah.
And I was pretty tempted. I used to live back in the days with somebody that would take it, and I'd come home from work and just sitting there on the lounge room floor, right? And I was like, "Ooh, should I or shouldn't I?" And yeah, I didn't end up doing it at all. So I've never really experienced the effects of taking steroids, but
no, I've seen
I can see how it can be tempting.
Yeah, I've seen a few mates start, and then it's like it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Like the change that you can get. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but yeah, it'd be interesting to do. But then also, like, it's one of those things, you're then always going to go. If you stop it, then you're always going to go back to where you're at,
because you always want to get that feeling again, right?
Yeah. And I think it's like anything. It's like when you first start training anyway, you get better.
Yeah.
Then it slows down, and you don't feel the same way.
And I think that's where it comes with ego as well, because I then need to you ask yourself, why do you need to be stronger than that person, or even stronger than what you are? If you just, like, how much stronger do you want to be, and what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
If you're stronger and if you look bigger.
Yeah.
Like, what's the comparison? Like, if you were to gain size compared to, like, with or without steroids, someone's still going to look at you and go, "Wow, you look bigger."
Yeah.
So what would the difference be?
Yeah.
It's just all in the mind, right? It's all mental. It's crazy.
And our perception of it. It's a hard thing, I guess, like those sort of, like, everybody else's opinion does matter to a certain extent with those things, because if it didn't matter, like, at all, no one would do anything, no one would achieve anything. But then it's just how much do you put weight on that? Like, does it really matter that someone else is doing something, like you said, and yours is not there, you want to get it there? But it's a funny thing.
Society's motivation nowadays is external, right?
Yeah.
You can never look at yourself. It's very rare that someone will look at themselves and not see a flaw. But I think with society today, especially with social media, I think people see many flaws within themselves, and they'll do whatever it takes to try and be what that person is promoting that they did naturally.
Yeah.
But then,
it's a frustrating thing. I see it now a lot with the maybe I'm just taking more notice of it now because I'm trying to do, sorry, not trying, I am doing more content. I'm doing more of like the online thing. I want to try and build my business online. So if there's anybody listening and you want an online PT, I should give myself a shameless plug on my own podcast. But I get really frustrated now because obviously the more you post, then there's every second person on Instagram now is a PT mentor.
100%. Yes.
You're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. Don't do that. Don't do a podcast. Don't do it.
But what's right and wrong?
Yeah, what
does that mean?
I was like, fuck's sake, like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I guess it always comes back to, as long as like holds true to you, you're doing the thing that, you're not hurting anybody, you're doing your best and trying your best.
That's all you got to do, right?
That's the thing. That's all we can do, mate.
There's no right or wrong.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit. So you got into PT, and so you've been doing it for 20 years now, mate. You must be pretty passionate about it.
I am. It's interesting. Like I do a lot of group training now. I've kind of peeled away from doing one-on-one PT. I mean, I do still have a couple of clients, but I don't really do it too much. I like the whole energy.
What was your client that used to always train? I think around the same time as I had Jeremy. Jeremy, you remember my client Jeremy?
Yeah.
The Asian guy. And you had him at reunion when you were there as well too?
Ooh.
I can't remember. I can picture his face.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. I can't even think myself. That was a while back now.
Because you had him when you went to a reunion as well too.
Yep.
I was going to ask if you still had him. You must not.
No, I don't train him anymore, no.
Hopefully you don't if you can't remember his name.
Jeez, I'm trying to think. I'm so bad with names that kind of just let it kind of, I've got to think about.
Anyway, doesn't matter. So now you're doing more group training and not so much PT.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and what, because what do you do with your training?
Yeah, so I'm kind of in a little bit of a limbo. So I started, when I left here, I kind of went straight into more group training than PT, and worked for a highly respected person in the fitness industry who kind of veered away from, a very popular fitness franchise and opened up his own. And he was kind of the brains behind the evolution of group training now with the strength conditioning side of things. And so I went on board there and started working for them and ended up writing their programs and, being head of performance there. And then we ended up having a bit of an epiphany or, during COVID. I'm pretty sure other companies did the same thing too, but our company ended up surviving from COVID. In fact, the company grew from the idea that, I kind of came up with, but then unfortunately the business kind of got a little bit too top heavy and ended up folding. So then I ended up leaving the business and they're no longer around. But then the group training that you see now has come off the back end of what he created, which was pretty cool. So, kind of kudos to him for designing that, which is now the phenomenon in Australia.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned to you earlier that, I had a guy come in the other day and he's from Mexico and he said there's nothing like what we have in Australia when it comes to group training. So I just enjoy that. I'm quite technical, so I like to be down there on the floor with the members and helping them with their form and technique. And I just love just seeing someone move better. But I also you can't. One-on-one is quite personal, right? And sometimes it's hard to kind of bring that energy into a one-on-one kind of clientele, and that can become quite exhausting at the end of the week for any PT that's doing 30, 40 sessions a week. So I just stick with the group training for now, and I'm just going to kind of see where it takes me. But I just enjoy seeing someone walk in feeling a bit down or a bit flat, and then walking out doing a high five, and then feeling good about themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm also studying mental health, so that kind of puts the two and two together, when it comes to community. So what I want to do moving forward, I still don't know. I'm still trying to work that out, whether I want to, start my own business. And I've kind of have a thought process of things that I believe that the fitness industry is missing. And I've spoken to a few people that I kind of see as my mentors today. Some teach me some good things of life and some teach me some bad things, but they're still mentors, right? And they think they're great ideas. I've just got to try and figure out how I can niche it to kind of put it all together. So, I feel as if in the fitness industry, we always focus on two important things, which is the aesthetics of how people look. That's people want to look better, right? They want to look good naked. It's always been the terminology back in the days, but I feel as if that's starting to shift. And then we kind of work into nutrition as well. And they're kind of the two things that we really work on. But normally when you speak to a member or a client, when you ask them, why that's important to them, they always talk about, maybe something to do with their home life or stressful work life, or they want better mental health. And I believe that coaches and trainers, they miss that part of the pillars that I believe that's important with their training or with their business. So they always have good business skills. I mean, that's why a lot of people go to places like One Playground, right? Because their business strategy is so good. So they go in there to learn how to run a business, and then they go in there and learn how to or they look at social media and do social media content. They learn how to be a good social media influencer as such. And then they learn stuff, when it comes to the course, the upskilling stuff that we did when it was Fitness Playground was, a lot to do with nutrition, sales and training, but not or mindset.
Yeah.
But nothing really to do with mental health. So I want to create a gym, if I can, that has all three pillars in the business strategy. What that looks like, I don't know. But I'm, starting next month, there's the push-up challenge, which happens every year. It's about male suicide. So in 2022, there was like 3,200 and something people who took their own life through suicide. Wow. So I'm going to start a little group, maybe like a walking thing.
Cool.
Walking minds, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And start the push-up
Wandering
challenge.
minds.
Wandering minds could even work. Wandering minds.
I'll send an invoice for the
Yeah, do that for the name. I'll give you naming rights. Yeah. So I want to kind of maybe just kind of veer along that kind of realm. But group training's kind of, I think, where it sits at with training at the moment, especially with COVID. Like, interest rates are going up. It's much cheaper to do group training, right? Yeah. But everyone always feels good when they walk out. But then what happens when they walk out of the facility? Like, you go in there to feel better, to move better. Then you walk out going, wow, fuck, that was awesome. But then your everyday life then gets the better of you, and then you're just waiting for that hit again to go back into the gym, so that's that drug. So that's my thought process with my mental health course, and then going into maybe putting that into a gym environment.
Yeah, for sure. And it is such a massive part. And I guess as shit as COVID was, it did highlight the need for those things.
Yep.
You know, with definitely community is when people were taken away from their communities.
Yeah.
You know, there was like, early on it was like, oh, cool, it's a bit of a novelty of lockdown. And then it just went on and on and on and on. And we started to see people's mental health break down. Both sides of it, people working too much. I know I was on that side of it, working too much in lockdown. And then on the other side of it, people not having much of a purpose and then not being able to interact with people. And even someone like myself, I'm very much an introvert, but having a community around just that sort of day-to-day interaction is a massive, massive thing.
To kind of top it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing on that as well too is like one thing that I do like about your approach to group training is that you, like you said, it kind of doesn't go hand in hand. You said, I'm very technical when it comes to coaching, which usually what we see with group PT is it's less technical.
Yeah.
So I think it's such a cool thing to be able to be a coach that applies that technicality to group training.
And that I like am very grateful for, you know, like people like you, you know, obviously the people that I look, you know, up to, you know, like the Tony Battagis, the Charles Pollikins, you know, James Garland as well, who's been a massive influence with my rehab.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cunt though.
Yeah, he's a fucker. But yeah.
I coached him for a little bit there last 2 years ago.
I think I knew that.
Yeah. He's
he
still
was
a cunt.
Yeah. He's dry humour. Yeah, I love a good old dry humour though.
Yeah, I got a lot of time for James. Every now and then I'll just be at the cafe and he'll just be wandering past and he'll pull up and we'll just chat shit for like 45 minutes.
Loves a shit talk.
Yeah. And then other times he'll just walk past and, you know, he'll say hello and then that's it.
And that's it, yeah.
He's a very busy, important man. But yeah, it's such a good thing because, you know, the making training more accessible, and then I like the idea of making that, you know, mental health aspect a bit more accessible, or having other tools in the toolbox to help people navigate life is a big thing. And it's not, obviously there's the mental health benefits of just being in a community, being around people, training, everybody having a bit more of a common goal and then feeling good after a session. But other than that, in that environment, there's not a whole lot of places that are doing much different other than that.
No, and it's understanding what strategies, like, you know, just to keep it kind of brief, you know, my background growing up, you know, wasn't the best background, you know, wasn't the best, I guess. I wasn't brought up too well, you know, so I've dealt with a lot of things myself through family and friends and just through my life in general. So my mental health has taken a bit of a battering, and I always would look, you know, at going to a gym as a way of me meeting people, but I'm a different kind of personality, right? So I remember one time I was working at North Sydney Fitness First, and one of the coaches, I mean, one day he might listen to this, but, you know, so Sebastian's brother, Cameron.
Yeah.
So I used to work with him at North Sydney. And I remember walking down the stairs one day, and all the coaches used to sit up behind where reception is. There was like a little area there for PTs. And I remember going down, and I don't know, I must have been in some kind of hyperactive mood. And I jumped down there and I said something stupid and whatnot. And I reckon there was like 10 trainers there. 9 of them walked away.
What did you say?
I don't know. It must have just been too much. Anyway, I sat down. I just said to Cameron, I said, what the fuck happened then? And he put his hand on my knee. And he says, Nath, we love you, but sometimes you could just be too much. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, but that's not a bad thing. He goes, but just sometimes you could be too much. You know, don't take it to heart. And that sat with me the whole time. You know, and I spoke to Robbie about this when I caught up with him a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, fuck. He goes, what a cool thing to say. You know, like to say that's a bit of must be good for your ego kind of thing. And then about an hour later, he said, I was actually thinking about that comment that he said to you at North Sydney. He goes, fuck. He goes, that's actually quite hard to take for someone to say that to you, because it's interesting that stuck on your mind for so long, right? So I've always had those kind of things for myself with not trying to fit in, but I'm a different kind of dude. You know, I have a lot of energy, and I can say some weird wacky things, and everyone, you know, don't really know how to take me, especially with kids today. Yeah. Fuck, I'll come in and like say some kind of dry joke to like a 21-year-old now, and they can't handle it. It'll go straight over their head, but sometimes they just look at me and just go, fuck, he's rude. And I go, rude? Or arrogant. I go, arrogant? Mate, that's not me. I'm not you at all. I'm not rude at all, right? So then I actually suffer anxiety going into a gym as a coach, and I move well. Like I actually train well. I go to any group fitness facility, and as much as we're in a group training facility, I would love someone to correct my technique.
Yeah.
But they never do because I move so well. But
Yeah.
I have injuries that if you were technical and you were good at what you did, you'd pick up on the injuries. You go, oh, that's interesting how you're doing that. So I get anxiety. So I actually want to go in there and feel good and meet people.
Yeah.
Right. So you can only imagine how other people are feeling when they go into a gym.
Yeah.
I think we've gone way off topic.
That's fun, mate.
I think we've veered off. I've just rambled.
That's what it's for, mate. I didn't say that at the start of the show. What have I got? The little bit of a brief. I don't know if I sent it through to you. Give an insight into someone's backstory, showcase the personality, short form social media can't. Just about any and all topics, rabbit holes, tangents, and rants are welcome.
We just did it.
Yeah. So just as long as you don't offend too many people, or that 21-year-old that
James. Sorry, James.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah,
He won't listen anyway. He's too busy.
he's too busy.
Well, you might listen to you're on. But no, we were talking about, I think we started to get on the topic of anxiety in training. And I guess like it was more towards leading to the mental health side of things. So talking about the concept of the gym, what, or like that topic of mental health, what do you think are some things that we can look to implement into like that gym environment to help with that?
I think with coaches and trainers, I think that, and this is not to have a stab at the fitness industry, but, you know, and I was kind of like this when I first started. I thought, wow, fuck, what a cool life that will be. I get to train for myself. I get, you know, paid well, you know, and I get like heaps of time. I get during the day off. I can do whatever I want. Fuck, it's not the case at all. That is not PT,
No.
right? But that's what I thought, right? And I think that a lot of people come on board thinking that that's what their life's going to be like. They think that's going to be an awesome life and they're going to, you know, earn lots of money and it's going to be all fine and dandy, but it's not that way at all. But
it's not a bad life, but there's more to it.
It's not a bad life, and it is fun because you are around like-minded people. But what I find is that in the fitness industry, and for me, I'm an extroverted dude. You know, you're talking about being introverted. I am extroverted. I love being around people. I love, you know, kind of joking around and having a good time and all that. What I don't do well is ego.
Yeah,
and I think that there gets a bit of a crossover effect of ego and you know, you get an egotistic dude and someone who doesn't really deal well with that ego. And I think, especially as trainers, and we talked about earlier about the lifespan of a coach, right? I think it's like 6 months or 8 months.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that on a business level, especially for PTs coming into the industry, I think as a manager looking after PTs, it's not just about how to run their business and it's not just about them understanding the mindset of the client. I think the manager needs to understand, you know, how do I manage this person? What kind of personality is Matt? You know, how can I make him successful at what he does? How can I work with him, you know, on a more of a personal level? Asking them more about them. And I'm, you know, asking them to be a psychologist. I reckon through the Cert 4, I haven't checked, maybe it's changed, but I reckon every PT should do mental health first aid.
Yeah.
Like I think it's so important to understand. I had one of my best mates, you know, he died last year or 2 years ago now. And, you know, he was going through some mental health battles and I did my mental health Cert 4 for him, you know, try and help him out, you know, through his journey of his life. You know, if we all trainers had that, I think everyone should have it. Same as first aid. I think we should all have first aid and mental health first aid. You know, to understand that person and go, okay, cool, what's that person's background? Like no one will ever know what kind of background I've had without asking me questions. So what questions do we ask? Now, how do we find out more about that person? But what I also find is that there's a lot of trainers out there, you know, or even people, and there's a lot of, we talk about alpha males, right? There's a lot of alpha males out there and we're talking people that are in, you know, high corporate jobs, you know, who, you know, some of them end up going through some massive mental health issues that coaches don't really know how to deal with. And so then that ego coming in, we don't understand, well, why is that person like that? So we always look at the face value and then that person will always then shield their emotions or things that they're going through and everything's always fine, you know, but then on the back end, you know, we talk about the iceberg method, right?
Yeah.
So we got on the surface level, we've got the way that we see that person and then that person's saying, you know, fuck, I'm thirsty, I'm going to have a drink. So that person's coming and go, fuck, let's just train. You know, fuck, give me that weight, I'll just lift it, you know. But then we've got the subconscious kind of area where it's like 90% of where our thoughts are, where we, you know, we're battling. Like they're battling hard, you know. Someone like me who, you know, has gone through my own journey myself, I come across as this kind of super positive, energetic, hyperactive kind of dude that's always happy on life. But then what's below the surface of how that person's dealing with? I think if coaches understand that a bit better with their clients and members, I think one, it's going to give them retention, but also two, it's they're becoming better people.
Yeah.
You know, rather than just coming into the gym and going, fuck, what do you bench?
Yeah.
Let's just get strong. Let's just
Which
fucking
is
beat that chest.
is very important.
It's also very important, right? How much do you dead? How much do you squat? You know.
But the person is also, well, it's more, you know, we're in personal training or group training. There's people involved, and the person is very, very important to that, because it's not, you know, like you said, a business retention. If you don't have to retain clients, then you don't make income.
Exactly.
There's going to be a part of that.
But I think coaches need to also understand that, well, trainers, that it is about income, but it's not just about making money. And this is where people in the group fitness industry as well, they get a bit stuck because they're just doing it for a job. And, you know, me talking about how I feel as if I'm quite technical on the gym floor, that there's not just technicality getting that person to move well, but it's also asking them questions.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what do you do for work? Oh, that must be quite tough. You got 4 kids and then you're also doing night shift. You're a nurse. That must be really hard. Is that why you come here? And then like spending time with that person to understand them and who they are and, you know, what they're all about. Yeah,
for sure. Because people do want to be understood a lot of the, like, it makes a big difference, because then you can tailor your service and how you interact with that person. If you just look at everybody exactly the same, you'll have some clients that you or people that you vibe with, and other people you will massively deter, which you know, it's not a good way to go through life, and it's also not a good way to run a business. It's not all about that, but making the impact is a lot of what we do. Most people wouldn't persist with their job, you know, of just over 10 years or 20 years for you. Most people wouldn't persist with a job if you weren't passionate about helping people. And that's what we get into the industry for the most part. And also the cushy life where you get to not do much work and
earn heaps of money.
Yeah.
And drive your sports car. Yeah.
I used to think because I wanted to be a PT since I was about 16 or 17, I was like, it'd be easy. I don't need to do anything, just exercise. And then I got into the industry and realized it's not easy.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
No.
But definitely like I like that analogy of the iceberg, what's under the surface, because a lot of people are really, really good at putting out barriers, and some of the time it's helpful, if you've got to get some stuff done, it's good to just be like, cool, I'm going to crack on with it. But it's like having the skill set or the tool set to help people understand what's going on and help people navigate through life. It's only going to get more stressful.
Yeah, it does. You look at it. I'm 41, right? So I look back and you just think about back in the days, and the biggest saying, there's 2 big sayings as you get older, right? Things that you said when you were younger. So you always live this free life. You're having so much fun. You're hanging out with your siblings or your friends, after school, before school, during school, weekends. Then you get a little bit younger. You're doing your course. Life is pretty good.
Yeah.
You think it's pretty fucking fun. You go, fuck, I've got heaps of time.
Yeah.
This is sweet. Then as you get older, and then same thing with injuries. You got your parents or people saying, don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself. Nah, I'm unbreakable. Yeah. I will never ever break. My body I'm a temple.
Yeah.
It will never be broken.
Until you jump onto a Swiss ball.
You jump on a Swiss ball and fuck yourself up, right? Then as you get older, now what do you say? You go, I remember back in the days. Yeah. Life was so simple back then.
Yeah.
And then you go, wow, I just remember the days, like you sit there and you speak to members and you go, oh, the depth of that squat, can you go any deeper? Nah, my knees. Okay, what's happened? Old age. And then they go, I used to play netball and do this and do that. And they didn't have any self-care.
Yeah.
Back then. These are all things back as a kid we got told to be careful of. We're like, nah, we're good. That's the ego, right?
Yeah.
And then as you get older, it kind of messes up. One thing about the iceberg thing as well is asking members, I believe, their needs.
Yeah.
So going back on like an emotional kind of level where, trying to figure out where they fit and how they fit and allowing them to fit into certain situations and making them feel like they fit. I feel as if, when it comes to trainers and that, I believe that when it comes to ego, they single people out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one thing. I'm going off a bit of a tangent here for people out there to kind of, just look at people and try to seek to understand why they are the way they are, and accept them for who they are, and don't. That's one thing I've learned as growing up in the fitness industry is you kind of have that self-acceptance, and sometimes you feel like, you're the odd one out, but knowing that person actually, there's a reason why they're, why they are the way they are, and maybe just seek to understand. I think that's a big one.
It's a classic, or seek to first understand and then be understood.
Yeah.
Before you interject your perception of whatever something might be into whatever's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool. So if anybody's listening at home because their audience is massive, and also I forgot to apologize at the start. Everybody's probably getting sick of me making this joke. I apologize for all the fan mail you'll get after this, mate. I expect that you'll get even more than the average person that comes on. And because it's a big audience, very, very big audience. Fastest growing podcast in Surrey Hills.
Yes, on Buckingham Street.
Yeah, on Buckingham Street in this building.
I'm happy to send you one of my photos of my book if you want.
What's that?
If you want me to do some fan.
Oh,
let's not go there.
You got a book, mate. No. Well, maybe you could do a screenshot from your time in film of that scene on Underbelly.
Yes.
And you can do some signed photos for people, which no doubt you've got some at home.
Yeah. That was on a porn site.
Yeah. Why don't we circle back around and start with this?
We said, can you edit this? So no, I believe you're on a porn site. Can you explain that?
Can you explain that, mate?
It's just on Underbelly, that's all. And it had nothing to do with me. It was the chick that I was in with had the big...
Yeah, sure.
Big thingies.
Oh, man of many talents. So, if there's anything... So, if someone's at home and they're like, cool, I understand that sort of vibe. Like with PTs, we talked about like how we can apply that, I guess, with the coaching and asking questions. Someone themselves... in that spot where they're like, oh, I don't, feel what XYZ way, and to just kind of assess their mental health. What do you think people can sort of do?
Yeah, so I think it's feeling the energy of the client or that person. And this is even at work, right? Like I think that, especially in the workplace, we see that someone's maybe acting a bit indifferent. And so then what we'll do is we'll be like, fuck that. I don't know what's wrong with that person. The person's blah, blah, blah. And they kind of just leave them. And then what happens is then that person becomes more separate than isolated. But instead of us then saying, something's not right there. Hey, Matt, is everything all right? I've just noticed that you're acting a little strange. You seem like you're a bit quieter than usual. Is everything all right? We tend to just go, fuck, that person's fucking weird. We are exposed to people in the fitness industry that all have their own different kind of personalities, right? And their own little intricacies of how they are. And sometimes we connect, sometimes we don't. But I think that's the biggest one, feeling that energy, but also connection. Like we lack connection, like especially with, how social media is now, we don't connect nowhere near as much as we did. And it's that seek to understand. So ask that person, if we see that someone's acting a bit indifferent, don't be afraid to go up to that person and just go, hey mate, like just checking in. Are you okay? Men are the worst. For me, I'm happy to open up and tell you that I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And what I found was the last 2 years for me have actually been quite tough. I've been through a few tough times, with my mate and a few other little personal things. But I've found that men specifically, they struggle to ask if you're okay. And I think if anyone's out there that's, that is a male and you might sit in that boat, mate, just that one question, right? Just asking them, mate, are you okay? I've just noticed you've been a little bit different lately, a bit quiet, a bit isolated, seem a bit angry, and then just be there for them. And you don't have to give them advice. Like, we're not asking you to be a professional, but just listening and not judging. Judgment is such a big thing as well these days. And I've just found that in that last 2 years for me, I've tried to open up to a few dudes, who I thought that were quite close, that, I thought that I can count on. And the people that I never thought that I could count on were the ones that have actually been there for me. Women are different. Women are quite emotional, right? You can actually go to women and say, hey, I'm struggling. Can you help me out? But men will never do that either, because they think that the ego takes over, and it's okay to not be okay. And I think that's the biggest thing. And in the fitness industry, same thing. Like we work pretty hard, like with what we do, right? And there's sometimes where we get stuck with certain things, and we need to be okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
And say, fuck, I'm struggling right now. I'm not just struggling with building my clientele, but things are pretty tough at home, and be okay to listen and, not judge, but also connect. Just we lack it so much. People need more connection.
Yeah, and I think a big thing, like that's massive, and anytime, more times than not, if you ask, or if someone, be okay to ask for help, most people are going to be, pretty open to helping. Because like a lot of times it's not even necessarily asking for help or just having a way to vent as well too.
Yeah.
And one thing you said in there, you don't need to provide solutions. Most people, there's something different when you say whatever you're dealing with out loud. It can stew around in your head and go around in circles really, really, really fast.
Yeah.
But when you say those things out loud, not all the time do they make sense. And just having an ear to bounce ideas off or whatever it is makes such a big difference.
Such a big difference.
But yeah, it's definitely one thing with males. We typically don't like to do it as much.
No, but it's like, with my upbringing, sometimes it's hard for me to tell, someone how I feel about them.
Yeah.
But fuck it, it's just a word.
Yeah.
They're just words. But I still struggle with it. And that's my emotional.
Yeah.
So, but I'm quite emotionally intelligent. But fuck, I still, I don't mind giving a compliment here and there. I struggle to accept a compliment.
Yeah.
But
It's
they're just
definitely
words.
definitely a guy thing as well too, I think.
Yeah, of course.
Quite a few of, maybe it's you attract, like attracts like, but it's definitely one of those things that as a guy, it's hard to take compliments,
But for some guys, it's not. Those guys, and we're talking about that surface level,
Yeah.
that love that on that face value, and they're the ones that will do what they can to look good. I know, a couple of guys out there that, they on the surface level, everyone looks at them and just go, fuck, you're amazing.
Yeah.
You are so good. They got X amount of followers. But then underneath, I've seen, how some of them live and how they actually are underneath that surface. And they're not good. And they're the ones that will, not struggle, but I shouldn't say the word struggle, but ones that need the help the most.
Yeah. And because social media exacerbates it all as well too, because it's just the highlight reel.
Right.
And it makes that, like using that iceberg analogy, probably makes that 10% almost makes that 10% more pronounced, even though it is still only 10% of what's going on.
Yep.
It's such a funny thing, like with my attempt to do all this and do more social media and reached out to a few people recently just to start some conversations. And it's so funny, like people just go, someone's posting a lot on Instagram. They must be doing really good.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like you're doing really good, mate. Like you're killing it.
But they're not.
What's that based off?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Just like many Instagram videos popping up.
But what does that mean?
Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah.
When in reality, it's a lot of hard work to be able to show all that stuff as well too, which is in itself a bit frustrating as well. And you spin around and around in circles, but people see it. It's funny. It's such an interesting thing that people see it and just go, "Oh, there's a lot of content. Therefore, you're doing good."
Yeah.
Not saying that I'm doing bad, but it's hard work and there's frustrations in it, and it's just. You could have someone that have like a massive following on Instagram, but they just feel like shit most of the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. But you'll never see that unless you ask a question, or and I guess it's a hard thing with guys with there's that male ego with that. It's just we don't usually talk about that stuff as much.
I find that person there that does that it looks like they're doing really well. They're the ones that when you see them, you get caught up in their aura as such, and you will never ever know that underneath that surface that they actually, you're right, they're not doing that well, or they are
just a mask. And it's a mask. It's a interesting thing you said. We lack connection these days. On some level, on a very surface level, there's more connection because we have more social media, but it's very, very. It's very, very. There's no substance to it.
Substance, that's it.
It's just posts.
Yep.
You press a button and it makes someone feel good. they get views, whatever it might be, but there's actually no substance to
But
it.
then that person that's the influencer will then bounce off the other influencer and say, "Oh my God, you're amazing," and that person says that, "Oh no, you're amazing," and then they're all amazing. But then there's what about the person that sits underneath that's watching them?
Yeah.
You know, that is inspired by what they do and wants to be like them. Do you reckon they'll ever be able to connect with that person?
Yeah.
So then those people that are sitting at the top are connecting with each other, going through the struggles that they're going through.
Yeah.
You never know what's underneath that surface, right? And then this person that's looking at them going, fuck, I want to be like that person.
Yeah. Why am I not like that person? Yeah.
I've reached out to an influencer before, and a couple of them, and I never get anything back. But I guarantee you, if an influencer reach out to that influencer will respond to that influencer.
Yeah. Who are they, mate? Call them out on here.
I should know.
Get the algorithm going.
Yeah, let's
so I
do
can
it.
get more views.
Yeah.
I want to get more views so I can help more people. That's the reason why I'm doing it.
Which I think is amazing.
That's the goal. Yeah, we get, we said it earlier. We get into the industry to help people, and obviously there's the side of it as well. We get into the industry for a lot of people to help ourselves as well. All the things that I have done with my business are me working through problems that I've struggled with myself. So injury, like I know a lot more about injury because I've fucked myself up more than the average person. So I know that I'm like, cool. I know what pain feels like. And I've had, shoulder injuries, neck injury, concussions, back injuries, knee injuries, hip injuries, whatever it might be. I've done a lot of it. So
Rehabbed it.
Yeah, getting myself back to that has helped me help other people. Then from a body composition standpoint as well too, that was like a big thing for me from like a confidence standpoint. Like I was a little bit overweight as a kid, and I was never super confident in my body composition. So that has always been, like you say, that the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
That's always been, that 90%. A lot of it for me is under the surface of just that's been,
how you feel about yourself and
yeah,
your emotions underneath of how you feel.
Yeah, for the longest time. But also, it then has allowed me to help other people. So I try to see these sort of struggles as a positive thing if we act on them, if we, act on them appropriately. And I've sought out to essentially dedicate my life to that, not just body composition itself, but the whole thing as well too. And being able to help other people not have to deal with that for as long or whatever it might be.
So what you've learned from all that, which is, I think is good.
Yeah, that's it, man. And like the goal is to help people make the world a better place, and yeah, that's it, I guess.
That's it.
Yeah, and you're going to do that with your gym, with the
hopefully,
I reckon.
my 3 pillars. I'll keep working on it, but start with my talks first.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So you're gonna get into doing that. That's
I still want to do the talks which was inspired through Robbie, but also I want to start my Wandering Minds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. And tell us a little bit about what that would be, because that's such a good thing with, we were talking about off air with catching up with Robbie, and we like often go for a walk and just chat shit. And, there's such a benefit and such value in that, just going for a wander, and particularly for males as well too, where it's just like, do you want to go to the pub and grab a beer?
And then what happens? You have a few drinks.
Yeah.
Just goes a bit.
And I think there is value in that as well too, because it does bring out other things, and as long as it's not the only go-to. But tell us about the Wandering Minds.
Yeah, so the biggest thing when it comes, I believe, to mental health, and with all these talking groups, there's always male or female.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very rare unless you do like an ice bath thing or a meditation thing or breathing thing that they do down at the beaches. The one they do down at, I think it's Bronte. I went down there because I used to do sunrise walks.
Yeah.
And that was good for my mental health in the last, for the last 2 years. But you go down to Bronte, mate, there's like, 100, 150 people.
Crazy.
Doing breathing techniques, and they sit there and breathing, and they've got this instructor that's telling you how to do this, and you're doing whatever. And then they've got like 8 ice baths.
Yeah.
Everyone just jumps in an ice bath for like 2-3 minutes and then jumps out. Which is pretty cool.
How do you feel about the ice bath? Do you like it? Oh, it should be easy after your 2 hell weeks, mate.
Yeah. You know what? I've done them, and I don't mind. I can see the benefit. Robbie's been like trying to get me over to his house. He does ice baths all the time.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind doing it on a weekly basis. When it comes to what it does for your mind, and especially with recovery and all that, like I think mind is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, who was it? Was it?
I got the most out of it from just the mental aspects.
Yeah.
Just feel so much more. You have to be calm in there, because if you're not, it's horrible.
Mate, when I joined the Navy the first time, we went down to Cerberus and we do Hell Weekend. So you do like a taster for all the divers. And they jump you into the water, right? And this was in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
Anyway, the first time I did it, I was in overalls.
Yeah.
So you jump in. I just remember the first feeling, like you can't breathe. And I was like hyperventilating nearly for the whole time. I just couldn't breathe properly. And that's one thing they teach you now, because back then, they didn't teach you any of that.
No.
But now with all the breathing, like with Wim Hof and all that kind of stuff, now they're talking about, slowing your breathing down, getting that heart rate into a good spot, trying to regulate, your body temperature, and that is cold as it is. Massive.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I nearly gave myself hypothermia one time. I got hypothermic. I didn't realize until I looked it up a few weeks later, and I was like, oh shit, I was
I nearly died.
Yeah, I was well far on there. I was like in there for like 20 something minutes.
Ooh.
But I was
ice bath.
Yeah. But it was sweet. Like I stayed in there that long because I was going hypothermic, and no, but I've done it. It's something that I've done a lot from. I don't like being cold, which doesn't make sense. Why would you get in an ice bath?
For 20 minutes.
Yeah. But if I expose myself to that by choice, then everything else will then be less cold. That's the way that I think about it.
Yeah.
So I would get into the ice bath to then I could walk around in t-shirt and shorts all through winter because it wasn't anywhere near as cold as that. So therefore I felt warm. So that was a big thing. And then I started to notice getting into the Wim Hof, not the exact method, but just controlling your breathing and how you are in what could be, or it's a quite stressful situation where you're just submerged in ice, that you can still be really, really calm. And it actually made a big difference to, like, I had anxiety quite a bit, throughout my life. And it made a big difference to me dealing with that because you just can't be anywhere but there, and just focus on the breathing and calm yourself down. And
that's one of the a response to anxiety, right? Is the shallow breathing and the panics and all that. Yeah, right.
Yeah, made a massive, massive difference to me. I really enjoy it. I had one. One of my clients actually bought me an ice bath.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then, but it was just I didn't really have anywhere to fill it up really easily, and then just get nice. I want to get a fridge.
Talk about influencing. If you want to get a free ice bath, there's a dude that's done like 530 days straight of ice baths.
What?
And he does it in his backyard of his house. And he lives in Winnipeg. I think Jordan something. He's actually quite good. Talk about mindset. He has some really cool stuff on his thing. He's done really well. So he started off with a I can't even remember what it was at the start. It was like this really kind of cheap ass kind of ice bath. He'd put ice in, and he'd probably get it from his backyard because it was like snowing. Fuck, it was cold. Sometimes it would be like -8 degrees outside and the water temperature is like 1 degrees. And then he sits in there and it was like covered in ice. So he'd break it sometimes. He'd have to get his hammer and break the ice, jump in, and he'd sit there and give you like a mindset talk about the mind and about, whenever you feel as if things are really tough, you just got to keep pushing through, stay consistent, you got this and all that. He's actually really good. And then they gave him a free ice bath. So now he promotes the ice bathing company and it's connected through, he obviously has it connected from the hose into his thing, and it obviously keeps it cold.
Yeah.
So when it comes to summer, it's going to always stay cold with the lid on top.
Yeah.
Do that.
And do 500 days worth of ice to do it. Wow.
Every single day he's done an ice bath.
I would do it if it was set up really, really easy. I want to get like a freezer. Is that what Robbie's got, like a big freezer, doesn't he? Or does he have like
but no. He's just got one of those blow-up ones, hasn't he?
Oh, right, okay.
You fill it with water and put ice in it.
Cool.
Those freezer ones, you've got to be careful because if you're getting a freezer and it's got a crack in it, put water in it.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't have it on. I would still fill it up with ice.
Okay, and then put water in it. Okay.
Yeah, but at least then the water wouldn't get like mosquitoes and shit in there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because you put the lid on.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're talking about your wandering mind. So you were saying usually you have you'll have like these male groups and then female groups when it comes to mental health.
Thinking about putting them together.
Yeah, cool. So tell me, what's the concept? How will it go?
Yeah, so pretty basic. Just meet at a location. Might be once a month. I'm going to probably start it when we do the push-up challenge.
Yeah.
The push-up challenge will be a different approach where we'll all meet together. We'll talk about a statistic. I'll probably talk about something to do with mental health and asking the right questions, or, are you okay, connecting with that person. And then what we'll do is normally with the push-up challenge, there's a statistic, and the statistic will be a certain number, and that number will correspond to how many push-ups you have to do that day. So say if the one day it's 180, then what we might do is we might then start at point A. So we'll start at Bondi Beach. Point A, all right, guys, so today we're going to talk about blah, blah, blah with mental health statistics is this, and we've got to do 180 push-ups. We're all going to drop down. We're going to do 15.
Yeah.
Let's go. And we pump out 15 push-ups. It's 180. We've got 165 to go.
Yeah. It's not a math.
I can't count past 10 as a coach.
No PTs can.
But then I give them something to work on. So from point A to point B, I go, okay, guys, what I want you to work on is A, B, and C.
Yeah.
I want you to connect with someone, introduce yourself, share a few things, whatever. Next point, all right, guys, now we're going to pump out and do 20 push-ups.
Yeah.
Next point, point B. From point B to point C,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about, now that you've connected with someone, I now want you to connect with somebody else. And what I want you to talk about is your fitness goals.
Yeah.
Get to point C, all right, guys, we're going to pump out 20 push-ups.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
And then we'll end up at, I don't know, Bronte or Coogee, and all sit down and we'll have some breakfast. And if I can then, there's a couple of companies out there like Talk to Me Bro.
Okay. Yeah.
And they do ice bath things as well.
Yeah.
So maybe if they're listening, if they ever listen to your
Yeah.
podcast,
That's
I might
big,
send it
big,
to them
big,
anyway.
Yeah, do that. Yeah.
Getting bigger. Maybe there'll be an ice bath at the end of it.
Yeah.
And that'll be about the mindset. And then they get down there with the ice bath with you, and they talk to you about your breathing and talk to you about this and that, which is cool. And then just see how it goes from there.
Yeah, cool.
And there's your 3 pillars of fitness and health.
Awesome, mate.
Yeah.
No, that was good. That was really, really good. And like I said, we haven't had anybody on chat too much about that in particular, I don't think. But just like the being aware of it is a massive thing. Hey, just it's people go through stuff. Life is stressful, and I guess also then being aware of that and giving people the benefit of the doubt as well too. How someone might act makes a big difference. You see it quite often with, I know I've seen it throughout my career. A client will act in a certain way, and just it can, whatever, they might be rude or they might be abrupt sometimes, or you might send you a message which is like a little bit, what's going on there, and then they come in a week later and they're like, oh, this was actually happening, or
They apologize.
Yep. Sorry, I was, whatever. I've dealt with it from like an injury standpoint, when a client will not tell me that they're super, super stressed, and they come in and, they put them into an exercise that they normally would do fine, but then they're in the gym physically, but they're mentally at work, or they're their mortgage has gone up or whatever, and then they hurt their back.
Yeah, because they're stressed already, right?
Yeah. And I guess it's just like, it's a funny one, because I always ask my clients, how you doing today? How's the body feeling? Whatever it might be. But it's doing it more frequently to open up the dialogue of, what's actually going on.
Well, I guess if something like that happens, then you, as the trainer or coach, would, you should pick up on that, because you know what that person's like, right? So then asking the right questions. Hey, mate, I'm just checking in to make sure that everything's all right. I thought that your message was a bit abrupt.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, rather than, because we then react to it, right? We become reactive to it. And so then you as a coach then need to not take that shit personally either, because then that can affect your mental health.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and this is where I think as a manager needs to be able to understand those clients or those coaches or trainers and know how to deal with that, because I believe that if I was your manager and you have something like that from your client speak to you like that, or say you're having something at home where things aren't quite good, or you're struggling with something, then me as the manager, I should be able to help you deal with that, but also be open to understanding you and going, mate, are you okay? Because then I can teach you that skill to then teach your clients that skill. It just becomes a rippling effect. And then I honestly believe that, mental health with training it's a massive thing, especially in today's society. I think that we should all understand it and know how to deal with certain situations.
Yeah, for sure. Particularly for guys as well too, because like, we don't usually talk like that. But it one thing that helped me was actually, I've mentioned him quite a few times, Robbie, is that he does such a great job to break down all the barriers of what you would think. You look at Robbie, he's, got beard, bald head, tattoos.
Yeah.
he fights, he likes bikes, he he likes boxing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But also, he looks like almost, and I don't mean this in a bad way, Robbie, if you're listening, you don't look like a guy that would talk about your feelings and your mental health.
But he wasn't.
Yeah, he wasn't for a long time, yeah. But also that's the reason, you look at him and you're like, oh, fuck. It's almost like he doesn't look like that he would do it, but he does it. Oh, cool. We can break down that barrier. You don't have to be, just like a quote unquote soft guy.
Yeah.
Like he likes all the things that normal guys like.
Yeah.
And that was actually quite a cool thing when I started to chat to Robbie a little bit more, because he's helped me quite a bit as well too. And yeah, just breaking down those barriers. It doesn't always have to be like that you're constantly, constantly asking people, but just knowing that there is, or you're constantly talking about the feelings, because it does get to a point where you're just like, if you are at that point where you probably should be actually seeing a psychologist or whatever it might be, but just knowing that like opening up dialogue makes a big difference, and it's okay to do that.
Yeah, and that's one thing as well, as a trainer or as a coach or just any friend really, you can just specifically go right out there and ask them.
Yeah.
Have you got support? Are you seeing anyone?
Yeah.
Like to help you with this, because that might be one of the best solutions. I see a psychologist.
Yeah.
And she helps me deal with, things that I dealt with, previously, and gives me tools to help myself in the future if anything like that was to arise. So, and I think that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely. We take a car to the mechanic to get it checked out, however often.
So true. We do that kind of stuff, right? But then we don't
look into the mind like that. It was one of the best things that I did was start seeing a psychologist back after the lockdown.
Yeah.
And I've never been on the other side of it from like an appointment standpoint of, I've never had a coach before. So I've never had like that appointment in my week where you go that's just for you. And I found it really, really helpful. Obviously the psychology standpoint of chatting to her, but just like, oh, cool, this is that appointment for me.
Yeah, right. That's interesting. I was always anti-psychologist because I was like, I struggle to trust people anyway. And
yeah.
I always have this kind of, humans are weird, man.
Yeah.
We're fucking so strange.
Yeah, we are.
So there's a lot of weird humans out there. And so I was like, nah, I can do this myself. I can do this myself. And what I found was I kept cycling back to here and then like working on it, then cycling back to there and then working on it. And then it was just this repetitive cycle that I was going through. And you do have to connect though.
Yeah.
You find a psychologist and sometimes it's just shopping. And that's one thing I think a lot of people, they're just like, fuck, I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
But you got to shop around.
Yeah.
To try and find the right person. But I think that most of us should be talking to someone.
At some point in your life, I think. Yeah. I was lucky. First one, I got on with it really well. It was a referral from Robbie and we hit it off really, really well.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
I was like, oh, cool. Awesome. That's great. And I think it was like 6 months-ish. Sorry. But yeah, it was interesting because I just never had like, I see a lot of clients as a personal trainer and have done for the last decade, and just never been on the other side of like going to an appointment just for you where you can have, for a lot of clients, PTs are kind of like one of the only unbiased ears that you'll have throughout the week.
Yeah.
Where you just, some of the stuff that, I've had like 50-year-old full-grown men tell me that things, and
And that's another thing we should have probably mentioned at the start as well, is that we are like same as a hairdresser.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are the therapist.
Yeah.
And like if that's what we're listening to them vent and talk to us about, then how do we then? What tools do we have then that we can throw at them? To help them with that situation. Or with the things that they say.
Yeah. And you don't have to fix it, but it's just having the right things to say back or the right questions to ask, because. For what my experience a lot with my psychologist was a lot me just talking and then me actually hearing what I was saying and then like her giving perspective as well. But then, you can start to hear the things out loud as opposed to just constantly going around in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. How are you doing for time, mate?
Mate, I'm all right. I do have to head off. Yeah. Hey, Elvis, are you still in the podcast? Elvis, imagine that. Imagine having him on your podcast.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Is he still alive?
Oh, well, he's 2 pucks of a life.
Yeah. I don't know. We have to talk about some conspiracy theories because we're coming up. This is number 27.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
So good.
So this one that I banked them, so I'm quite a way ahead. I think I'm releasing number 16 this week.
Yep.
So I have to get to talking about some conspiracy theories soon, because it can't be, you know, a 30-year-old male's podcast and not have conspiracy theories.
Got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have time for your top 10 exercises?
Let's do it.
Cool. What do we got, mate? Back squat?
Back squat. I squat well.
You do squat well.
It's not my it wouldn't be my favorite. You know, I don't mind a deadlift, but I'm all for unilateral. Like ever since, you know, hurting my hip, and you know, obviously doing a lot of stuff with James Garland and with Tony and Dan. Obviously, the general prep phase of training. Ideally, if you really want it to be scientific, which I still think that it's necessary, but you've got to be. I don't think you need to be as basic as some of them have been, not with a lot of population, but unilateral exercises I think are, you know, a king for me.
Yeah.
Split squats. Look, I am a deadlift fan. I don't mind a good old deadlift and a good chin up and, you know, a bench, but I would go for a dumbbell press any day. I would go for a single arm overhead press any day over a barbell press.
Yeah.
And I'm not strong, but I'm definitely not weak. You know, I'm not the strongest dude in the world.
You are very modest as well too.
I am very modest, yeah. What else? So what have we got? Split squats, I think, are my king for lower body.
What kind of split squat? Were you going to specify, or just all of them?
Yeah, I like a flat or a front foot elevated split squat for range.
Yep.
I think for range you can't beat it, right? And it's funny, terminology for some people, in my mind, like for me, a split squat is a knees over toes split squat.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff that Ben Patrick kind of created. I mean, fuck, if you're asking people
Created.
well, what? Yeah, exactly. Or it was like Charles.
Yeah.
Who really created that?
Yeah.
But I believe if you're squatting and you're squatting ass to grass anyway, which is how we should all squat, because that's how we all squatted as a baby, right?
Yeah.
Then a split squat is a fucking knees over toes squat.
Yeah.
Split squat, right? So
Get
that's how
it,
it
get
should
it
be.
all, and particularly if you know, you could, from like a spinal loading standpoint, you know, you don't even need to do a back squat, because there is a high potential for risk. And if you were to train through a full range of motion split squat, you're going to get all the benefits for the most part, other than the loading of spine, with less potential for injury as well too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And look what we do. Look at our gait.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah. Same
Most
thing.
of the time.
Yeah.
A lot of it's single
Yeah.
limb, right?
Yeah.
We walk upstairs. We don't jump upstairs.
Yeah.
Like we might lift things, and that might be into a squat position, which is kind of functional.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff we do which is unilateral, and like even like you train a lot of people with, or you speak to a lot of people that have had babies, even fathers. I'm not a dad, but you know they're carrying their baby on one side and they're doing this. It's funny for me with my hip.
Yeah.
Like my hip, my left hip is the most mobile because it's a loose joint.
Yeah.
Whereas my right hip, check my right hip, you just go, fuck, you're super tight there.
Yeah.
But I shift to my, I think I shift to my left.
Yeah.
So my right hip's tight, but when I squat, I shift to my left, but then I push with my right.
Interesting.
Do it, right? So I'm the opposite to what most people would see. So I reckon over time, if I kept lifting heavy with a barbell back squat, I'm going to hurt myself.
Yeah.
And you speak to a lot of people that do a lot of prehab exercises, they're constantly still hurting themselves. You're going to hurt yourself regardless in your training. So why not just do unilateral work?
Yeah. Limit the load. I had Matt Wall on. You remember Matt Wall?
Yeah.
Had him on, and he is obviously super knowledgeable and is of the same opinion with he's trained really, really heavy. He's done some decently heavy deadlifts. He's done some decently heavy squats and barbell lifts, but he's moved his studio or his clinic now, so he doesn't have the ability to lift heavy in his clinic, and he only just trains there. So he just does, split squat everything, unilateral everything, and then he tested his 1 rep max on the deadlift, and it was like 5 kilos off where it was when he was training the normal one.
Yeah, right.
It's
amazing.
So there is such a potential for unilateral exercises to build a lot of strength. The issue is, I think this is what stops most people, one leg sucks, and then you've got to do it again.
On the other side, yeah. And what a lot of lifters, what do they hate? Conditioning.
Yeah.
So that's already a conditioning workout already, right?
Yeah. I might actually play around with, I like an everyday approach to things that I don't like doing. So I actually used to not like squatting. So I started doing it every day. I used to not like training legs at all. And then I started doing it every day.
You are the leg guy.
Yeah, the leg guy, yeah. And then it makes sense, yeah. You practice something most of the time, you'll probably get better at it.
Yep.
So I started doing squatting every day and then obviously got better at squatting because it would be normal. Squatting was normal. So recently I've started to do a alternating bent over row. So like a dumbbell row.
Like a piston row kind of thing.
Kind of thing, yeah. Because I think bent over rows are such an excellent exercise. I just hate doing them because for me, my levers, I've got a quite long torso. So as I go into a hinge position, it just exposes my back a lot. And I've had
you're too far away. Your head.
head's too far away from my hip. So I was like, why don't I just do it every day? Now my back feels amazing because I do it every day for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So I might give the split squats a try every day.
Yeah, give it a crack.
Although I don't need any more dorsiflexion, so I may do like a Bulgarian split squat or something that I suck at.
Yeah.
I'm really good at the bottom, suck in the middle.
In the middle part.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
See what happens to your squats.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So we got split squats?
I do like a deadlift.
Yeah.
Although lately I haven't really been doing it, so I'm quite pathetic at it.
So am I.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Did you not see my when I moonlighted as a powerlifter last year?
Oh, I did. Yes. Yes.
Fucking hurt my back.
Did you?
Yeah, so funny. Second deadlift of the day. So it was the second last lift, and I had like a snap and pop in my lower back on the platform. Fell over, couldn't stand up. Had to get picked up off the platform. Yeah.
Fuck.
It ruined the vibe a bit.
Yeah. You reckon you go back, jump on the horse?
I squatted 130 for 5 2 days after it. So there was still some pain there. It was some things from left to right, some hip issues, and actually, as I said before, the injuries that I have helped me get better. I then fixed that, helped a lot of other people since, but I will do a powerlifting comp again at some point because I haven't got a total. Do you know how powerlifting goes?
I'm guessing you go squats, deads, and they accumulate it.
Squat, bench, dead, and then it's your accumulation of the 3 lifts, of your 3 biggest lifts. But I just got a squat and didn't get the bench press and I didn't get the dead.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a total. So it's meant to be the 3 added up, but I just got 1 lift of the day.
You don't know how you rank as a...
Very bad. But I had the deepest, everybody listening would probably be sick of me saying this, the deepest beltless, heaviest, knee sleeveless back squat of the day.
Yeah. Wouldn't expect anything.
No,
anything
less.
Anything
Yeah.
less from you.
The heaviest squat was 100 kilos more than mine, though. So
There's some freaks out there.
sorry to cut you off. So we got split squats, we got deadlifts.
Yeah, I don't mind some of the. I mean, Olympic lifters would hate me saying this, but I don't mind like a dumbbell Olympic lift.
Oh yeah,
Like a dumbbell snatch, or I'm not massive on the clean or something.
Yeah.
Much
lower barrier to entry. Still dynamic.
Yeah, I don't mind just the feel of it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of this. I mean, I haven't been in a commercial gym like one playground for quite some time, but I missed the pendulum squat.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, no, pendulum squat.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Man, I can get you a job here. You can start back, pre-level
doing
1.
some PT. Yeah, let's do it. Love that. That'd be amazing. Hope Justin's not listening to this.
He won't.
What else? I miss doing leg curls.
Yeah.
One exercise I want to get good at, but I just don't have the patience to do it, is Nordics.
Nordics, yeah.
Like I've seen some dudes out there just, fuck, they're so good. But Nordic curls is something that I've always wanted to be good at.
Do it every day, mate.
Yeah, I should.
I took a guy from none to 1 in 4.5 weeks.
Wow.
One time it was for
Cool.
a Men's Health article. He was one of the editors, and he's like, "I've got 6 weeks," and then by the time he came in, he had 4.5 weeks. I was like, "We're gonna give it a crack."
We're gonna do it.
It's very hard to do, and he got up to doing it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What else?
So, mate, do it every day. There's probably a chance that you get it.
Keep doing the Nordics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glenn would be proud.
Glenn, is he still traveling?
Yeah, he's just back on the road again now. He just rebuilt. He bought another 1982 model car.
Because their car broke down, didn't it?
Many times. Just classic Glenn fashion.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just got back on the road, but they're going to get like a little tiny home or something like that. Yeah, but he's doing all right.
So good.
Yeah, he just rebuilt a whole van. Whole Land Rover.
A Glen Rover.
Yeah, Glen Rover.
Glen Rover.
Yeah. What a guy Glenn was. I'm going to get him on for an episode.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. What about the old times?
Yeah. And Chris Spade as well too.
Yes.
Yeah.
The daddy.
Yeah.
Big daddy
Big
boy.
Daddy Chris.
Big Daddy Chris. How good.
What else have we got there?
Oh, I don't know. I'm
Nordics.
yeah, good old Nordics,
Yep.
unilaterals. I don't mind a good old overhead press, like single arm.
Yeah.
I miss, like, if you talk about methodologies, I miss the good old days of the bodybuilding methodologies, the giant sets,
Yeah.
those kind of super sets and that kind of stuff that we learned through old mate Poliquin. What else? It's hard because with group training, right, that's all you kind of really do. Squats, deads, overhead press, bench press. I don't really miss bench press too much. I don't do too much of it, but I just love a good old dumbbell press. And I'm always big on a dumbbell row.
Yeah.
I love a good old dumbbell. I just love the basic stuff, or unilateral. I love
Yep.
doing a good old unilateral movement.
Because you did a lot of unilateral there for a long time, hey? I remember they used to call you Unilateral King at
Unilateral
Marrickville.
king, yeah. Yeah, I was too. That's so true. I love a good old single arm something. Yeah, I mean, even when I was training with James, like, it was all sort of unilateral stuff then. I used to love it.
Yeah.
Bulgarians. I remember I tore my hamstring up near my glute fold from doing it was supported safety bar 90-90 split squat. And I remember back then, I think even though I had some of the coaches watching me, I was like doing 105 kilos on one leg.
Wow.
And I remember going down, it was like my second or third rep, and as I came through, I literally heard my hamstring like go, and I was like, oh, fuck, that didn't feel very good. And so I just said to James, I said, I don't know if I'm very good. I was out for weeks.
It was James's fault.
James's fault. I blame James. He had some pretty cool programs, actually. A lot of stuff from like Eric Cressy.
Yeah.
And,
was like,
Tony Gentlecore and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, he asked me to write his programs for a while. The last person that wrote his programs was Tony Gentlecore.
Yeah, but I can see how you guys would correlate.
Yeah.
You and Tony.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I love his no bullshit kind of fuck.
Well, that's what good training is. You know, we were talking about it before with, you know, it's a good thing with like the wellness stuff, you know, people moving more, but, you know, most people will, for the results that most people want, you know, we've talked about mental health a lot on this podcast,
Yeah.
but still there's aesthetics and there's hard training
Involved
in that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's healthy.
100%.
If it's the only reason that's not healthy.
Yep.
But, you know, particularly it's hard to get caught up in that if you're doing deadlifts and you're doing rows and you're doing split squats and you know, they're not for the aesthetics of it. It's not just quote unquote bodybuilding.
No.
But, you know, good hard training. There was a quote that Charles Poliquin used to say. He said, you know, that chefs say good quality food or amazing food it's 90% good quality ingredients and 10% creativity.
Yeah.
And that's what we do with training. Yeah, it's 90% good quality ingredients. Have some split squats, have some rows, have some, you know, chin ups, have some presses, do some unilateral stuff, do some squats.
Bit of traveling.
Yeah, there's nothing in there that, you know, sprint, do, you know, some row. There's nothing in there that's super complex. The 10% creativity should be limited to that 10% creativity, and you don't need to try and reinvent the wheel to make a good program. To make it effective, it's already going to be effective. Even if you just picked one of those exercises and you did 3 sets of 10, that will be effective programming.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
And it's just like sprinkling those little things in there to make it more entertaining, and also so it doesn't get stagnant as well too. You know, there is a bit of changing your rep schemes around so you do continue to progress, but just good hard training will serve most people.
The what was I going to say? There's like every training program anyway is a guessing game.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can't open you up and see what's going on with your muscles.
Yeah.
Like we never know, right? So we're only guessing anyway. And we're only going from the education that we've got and the knowledge that we have that we can implement into your training program.
Yeah.
But it's all a guessing game.
Absolutely.
So we can try this and see if it works.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You know?
And that's the classic fuck around and find out. Sometimes you fuck around, you jump on a Swiss ball and you
fuck it up.
You find out.
Big time.
You do a really big heavy lunge and
fuck that up too.
Yeah. But that's part of it as well too. You know, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna get injured when you're training. But we want to get results and we want to minimize the potential for injury. And, you know, if you are lifting heavy, there is always potential for injury. It's just,
Yep.
it happens.
Yeah.
But also, if you want results, there has to be a element of heavier lifting.
Yeah.
You know, so I was just thinking, because I'm starting to add split squats, like barbell reverse lunges back into my program. And last year I got up to 110 for 5. And just
over reverse lunge.
Yeah, reverse lunge. And just as you were saying that, I was like, oh, maybe I don't want to tear my hamstring doing that. Yeah.
I think a reverse lunge, you're much safer because of the way pushing that leg back and going forward on the hemis, I believe. It's just, I think if anything, state like the 90-90 split squat, if you're really driving off that front foot or a front lunge.
You were going straight up and down. Yeah.
I reckon as I was coming up from the bottom, that's when my hamstring and knee were good. Because I'm already in flexion at the knee, right? But I'm in extension, no, not extension, sorry. I'm stretched at the hip a little bit more rather than flex or shortened.
Yeah.
So fuck.
Not good. How bad was the tear?
I didn't get a scan. And that was another thing, talking about Matt Waugh. You know, he come up to me and he goes, you're the only coach here, this was back then when I was training here at Surrey Hills, that has never seen me. I never saw him.
Yeah.
Like when I had an injury. And I said, well, that's because I just rest and then I just work around it. And he goes, it's pretty much all the physio tells you to do, right? Or do some kind of rehab stuff, which is kind of like, as a coach, you should kind of know what it is, really, unless you're going there for a massage.
Yeah.
But that's what you've got a foam roller or an exercise ball or a massage ball for.
Yeah.
So go do that. I have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
With the NRL,
with
all the hamstring injuries, why do you think it's happening? And how do you reckon that the NRL or something like that can prevent it? Because there has been, I reckon, more hamstring injuries this year than any year that I can. Obviously, it's a faster game, right?
Yeah.
But remember when the Roosters won it back in, I don't know, whenever they won it. However, when they had, what's his name? No, what's that strength coach, lives in Byron Bay.
Oh, Keegan.
Gypsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Keegan Smith, when he was their strength coach or something.
What a guy.
What a guy.
Brian Smith's son.
That's him. Yeah, when Brian Smith was the coach of the Roosters, they had the least injuries and they won the grand final. Penrith did it. Oh, let's not gloat too much, but 3 years in a row, plus they were at 4 grand finals. I mean, they're probably one of the best teams that's ever been in the NRL, but, you know, I mean, fuck, who cares about Penrith, right? Unless you're a Penrith fan like myself, but they had the least injuries too.
Well, I care about Penrith because now they're the Bulldogs.
They are. The B team.
Fuck. This is the year, mate. Do you know the theory about every 10 years they're in a grand final and every 20 years they win?
This is it for the Bulldogs?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, 04.
Wow, okay.
04 was the last time they won.
03 was when Penrith won. And they won 2020.
They only won that year because Dogs got stripped their points, remember?
Did they?
Yeah.
When they played the Roosters in the grand final. What? When they got it stripped?
The year before. So the 2003 would have been when Penrith won.
Oh, maybe it is the Doggies then.
Yeah. Maybe, mate. If that goes Penrith.
Doggies?
Penrith. Yeah. Might be a thing. I doubt it's going to be a thing. I didn't know it until my mate told me. He's like, you know, the theory that they win every 20 years. Because they were in, last time they were in it was 2014, and then if you go back, it's every 10 years they're in, and every 20 years they have
There's
won.
your conspiracy talk. We just did it.
Yeah. But fuck.
Doggies.
Gus is going to pull. Gus still there, yeah?
I don't know. He's in a bit of trouble, isn't he?
Is he?
He said something wrong.
No. I'm sure he said many things wrong.
Oh,
he
mate.
doesn't give a fuck.
No.
The hamstring injuries. I wonder if one thing is overtraining, overrunning. They do a lot of volume of running in preseason, and I wonder if that's a contributing factor. I also then wonder, you know, there was nothing with Keegan, could potentially just be a bit of luck because there is that in the sport.
Yeah.
I wonder if then just from a training perspective as well too, how are they tearing them? Are they tearing them just running or are they tearing the...
So Nathan Cleary was hardly running on the weekend and he did a grade 2 tear.
Yeah.
I reckon it's got something to do with their nutrition.
Potentially, yeah.
I wonder if they're taking creatine before they train or something and there's too much fluid in there, or I don't know. I think it might have, or electrolytes. I reckon I've seen pickle juice more recently on TV in so many crams than ever before as well.
Well, because the thing is that the pickle juice doesn't work unless it's the potassium that people need more of. So the more sodium you have is pointless after we need a ratio of sodium to potassium. So the pickle juice will give you more salt, more sodium, and definitely with sport, particularly the NRL, there's like a lot of old heads around. There's a lot of old school training, a lot of old school mentality. I had a guy on last week, Andy. He trained at Fitness Playground. He did a exercise.
Keaton?
No.
Just checking.
Yeah, no, he's in Cronulla now. He's left Fitness Playground. But Andy, he did an internship at the Bulldogs, and after he did his sport and exercise science degree, and largely was just collecting data. He said it's not anything. It was a bit shit. You just collect data on meters that they've run. I should actually ask him. And there's a lot of people in rugby league that don't think strength and conditioning should actually be a thing. You know, like the older heads, which is weird. You know, because back in the day we didn't do that. We didn't lift weights. You just sink beers and go out and play. And
some ciggies.
There's obviously like that's changing, but I think that is still a bit apparent in the sport. And he said, when he was at the Bulldogs, he'd get comments of like, S&C is just a made up job, and they're it's irrelevant, which is crazy when you think in the contact sport.
Yeah.
Because people think that lifting weights is bodybuilding. You see it with boxing. If you lift weights, you're going to get big. You'll be slow.
Yeah.
So therefore, don't do that. Maybe if we lifted the weights fast and you increased your power output, maybe you could hit harder.
Yeah.
You can. Science says so. Same thing with rugby. So I wonder if that is a thing. And then also, rugby league players are excellent athletes at playing rugby league. They're also pretty shit at training.
Lazy.
Yeah. They don't train to be good. A lot of them will train because it's like a necessity. They don't probably love training, and also in such a big gym environment as well too. They're not getting one-on-one coaching, which is hard. I don't know how I would do it. It's another skill. And I reckon there'd be a lot of people not training the best from like an exercise technique standpoint.
Yeah.
How you said you go into a group class and then, tweak this, tweak that, tweak this, whereas when you're in that environment where the boys are just going to either shift in or not do that much or go do bicep curls in the squat rack, that I think that's probably
such a no-no.
Yeah, because I think with the environment that Keegan probably created at the Roosters was very different to what a lot of the other training environments were.
Have you seen Usain Bolt train in the gym?
No. Ages ago. Not very good.
No.
Yeah. And I think that's where people look at it is, rugby league players are excellent rugby league players. There's one that's training at Surrey at the moment, and I'll say off air, trains like absolute shit. One of the better rugby league players that you'll have seen play, particularly in the halves and from like an athletic standpoint.
Yeah.
Trains like absolute shit. If I saw him training and I was like, he like kind of looks familiar. I didn't know who he was, and I was like, he trains like shit. And then I realized who he was, and I was like, oh fuck, he trains like shit. Because rugby league skill is not training in the gym.
No.
And I think, they demand such high. They demand such a high level of physicality from the body that you can keep up with for a certain period of time until you can't, and then I think they just break. Potentially, it is they getting faster as well too, but it's seeing some of them train, and my mate who played at Penrith, he said not many of them can squat, not many of them can deadlift that good, I think
technically,
yeah, because it's a hard thing to do. Like I don't know, I don't have the answer.
Yeah,
it's very easy on a one-on-one basis, or it's actually still challenging on a one-on-one basis.
Of course, yeah.
Then when you go up 30, of some of the most athletic people
in the gym training together.
They're just going to rip weights, and I think people try to do it, but also then like there's good coaches out there, but yeah, hopefully some of them call me out and make me more famous.
Yeah, you can go train at the Bulldogs.
Yeah. Bring them to that premiership, mate.
2024.
Yeah, 2024, the year's going to happen. I'll come out of the closet as a Bulldogs fan then.
Yeah, would you be?
I don't watch it so much anymore.
You don't?
No, I fell out of love with it when I stopped playing. I think because I think it's such a cool sport and it's one of my favorite sports, but I don't engage in it so much. But I still enjoy it, but I don't watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just after, I think when I stopped playing because I was so injured, I had to not watch it for a long period of time.
FOMO, right?
Yeah, because I was like, it sucks, I can't do it. And then
This is where I'm thinking, when you talk about mental health, like they're talking how they're all getting behind Nath Cleary because he's not only just got a tear, a grade 2 tear in his hemi, but he's only just come back after tearing his hamstring already. So he's played for like 2 games this year, and then he's had like 4 weeks off, come back for 1,
and
tore his hamstring again, and then he's gone for 2 months.
Same hamstring?
Same hamstring, but this time it's a grade 2.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been ready then.
No, and that's when he played half a game, and then they rested him.
Yeah.
So they rested him the week before, and then he played pretty much half a game. He played a shit game. And then
that would be another thing as well. Rugby league players notoriously play hurt all the time.
Yeah, true. Always under the injury cloud.
Yeah,
Look
always.
at Sean Johnson.
Yeah, always injured, and then you just got to get back out there. Then they get injured more, and that is a massive thing because particularly, when he's running, he's not trying to run with perfect technique to not injure his hamstring. He's run for the ball, turn, pop, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And particularly a hamstring, it's just temperamental. I sprinted for the first time in a while Saturday, and the hamstring that I tore in 2020 still was like, are you sure about this?
A bit funky.
I didn't rehab it to get back to running as well too, but I think that's a big thing as well too. If there's already a grade 1 tear,
Scar tissue.
Yeah.
It's not quite ready.
And
it's going to bond stronger.
Probably going to pop again. Not a good one. Not a good one. Mate, we might pull it up there, seeing as you've got people chasing you and you've got to be somewhere, it sounds like.
Elvis. Well, maybe not. I might just say, nah, don't worry about it.
No, we're having good fun here.
I'll go home. That was good.
Yeah, mate, I had fun.
Sorry for the ramble.
No, again, that's in the brief, mate.
Yeah.
It says all... I don't
Rabbit
have
holes.
ramble. Rabbit holes, tangents, rants,
Yep.
rangents, rambles. They're all welcome. Don't offend too many people, but also if they get offended, fuck them.
Don't judge.
No, don't judge them.
Check in on people.
Yeah, that's it. Ask, are you okay?
Be a good human.
Yeah. Do your split squats. You'll be okay if you do split squats.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Are you okay? No, do split squats.
Do split squats.
Yeah, you got to do it.
You'll feel better. You do them long enough and you persist with them long enough. Maybe they should throw that into the Hell Week.
Yeah.
Split squats every day. I reckon that would break a few people.
That would break a few people.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you one day, I think it was before Surrey got its little facelift.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing you I think you were doing a front foot elevated split squat. Man, maybe I'm wrong, and you're here so you can correct me. I'm pretty sure you had like 40 kilo dumbbells in your hands.
Yeah, I did up to 40s one time.
Yeah, I remember I seen you do that one time. It's ridiculous. When I was doing those at North Sydney, when I started training with Dan and doing stuff with Tony Bataji, I reckon I got up to maybe 30s.
Yeah.
But mate, fuck, when I saw you here, I was like, 40s?
40s, yeah. I remember I did 5x5 with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw you do them.
Because Glenn and I used to do...
Yeah, you were training with Glenn, and there was 3 of you at one stage.
Yeah. Every Friday afternoon for that whole year, the whole last year, I think it was 2019. Yeah, 2019, and then he left. We did non-negotiables. So we did, on Tuesdays, we would do front squats and Nordics and some other stuff. And then on Friday afternoon, the other non-negotiable was we'd do back squat, we'd do Nordics, we'd do split squats, and then we would do you remember Glenn's bicep curl?
Yes, yeah.
Every afternoon, like we missed maybe 2 in that year.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And I got up to being able to do like 10 Nordics. Glenn was doing the Nordics on the decline. Like it was just like, that was what we would do every single week. There was once or twice that we had like a dinner or something, or someone was on holidays, but the next week every single week. Yeah. And because we do the Nordic just twice a week. Yeah. Tuesday we'll do one variation, and then on the Friday we'll do another variation. But yeah, he got up to doing like, I think he got to like 10, 12 Nordics at one point.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and I got up to 10. The day that I tore my hamstring, I did 10. It was for a video shoot, and then I jumped into the splits and popped my hamstring.
For the split squats?
No, just doing the splits. Like,
all right.
Yeah, doing the splits.
That'll
and
do it.
Yeah, but that was after lockdown in 2020, the first one.
Fucking, you believe that was 5 years ago now?
I know, crazy, mate. Crazy. I still remember coming to see you at the gym that may not be named. They're not open anymore in Potts Point.
No, they are. They're different name.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, so same space,
Yeah,
different name.
interesting.
Cool space.
Cool, man.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. We'll have to do that again sometime.
Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.